I'll turn around now.
You've got everything, right?
Yes.
You got your passport, your ticket information. Okay, you got everything?
Yes.
Good.
I'm going to miss him, but it's an awesome opportunity. So I know he's really looking forward to it, and I wish I was going too.
Passport. I traded mine to a year ago. Bye, everyone's mom. Your passport, Maddie? Got you guys.
The trip did not start on March 27th. It started a year ago, just learning about this, building up all the anticipation. And not only were we just reading books and watching movies, we had veterans come in to talk to us at school at Eastview, and we also had Holocaust survivors come in to talk to us.
We would wrap the dead soldier in a woolen blanket and tie it with telephone wire and bury him in a shallow grave.
Everything fit together like a puzzle. We learned, we read, we watched movies, we talked to real people that were there, and then we went to the site and it all just came together.
Before the trip, I got a chance to talk to a World War II veteran. His name is Gordon Leach, and I thought it was so interesting just to sit beside him and ask him questions on where he was in the World War II and how he feels about us students going over there. How do you feel about us going on the trip?
I think it's terrific. I think you'll have a terrific time.
After talking to him, I just wanted to go on the trip like the next day. All the anticipation was like building up, especially after talking to Gordon.
The Prime Minister is coming. It is now 2 weeks before the tour.
Every student that goes on the tour will come back a different person. I can say that absolutely without no hesitation whatsoever. Every student will have that one moment when they, we say, get it, when it all makes sense to them.
It's hard to imagine just how amazing the city is, how awesome everything is, and just knowing now, I mean, how terrible it would have been when the German occupation came in. I mean, just this marvelous city, just the center of France, one of the great Allied countries just being taken over. I mean, having Hitler walking under the Arc de Triomphe with his armies, it's just, it would have been demoralizing just to imagine. I mean, now being here, walking on the same ground that I'm reading about, it's just, it puts a lot more meaning behind the words.
You can imagine how much they felt they were losing, because Paris is just full of culture and art and history and natural beauty, and you can really feel what the French felt.
I'm really looking forward to the rest of our trip because I feel like the trip's about to start now, because now that we've just been sightseeing and learning new stuff, but once we get to the beaches in Normandy and Amsterdam, it's going to be great. Like, I just can't wait to meet new people, the people of the town, and also the people who fought for us as well. Like, and I'm just so excited. I can't even like put it into words.
That cross that you can see over to the left.
It's humbling to say the least. You know, you try to picture the landing craft coming up on the beach and what the guys must have been feeling and what they were looking at, but you really can't do it. You can't imagine what they're feeling and thinking of. So, like, I could be standing in a spot where somebody lost a friend or a husband, and it's unbelievable to think about.
I just can't picture people that my age, or even like people I know from my school, like that could be on this beach. If I was born 65 years ago, It's like unreal. I can't even believe I'm standing here.
There were these beautiful sailboats on the ocean, or in the channel when we went, and such a stark contrast to what it must have looked like in 1944. But you can really feel what happened there. It's very eerie. It's all around you. You can feel it.
I think it's probably really important to them. They have a higher respect even, and they have a high respect for Canadians too, from the shows that we've watched. Some people have said to me, oh, are you getting all excited? The boys are going on this trip. It's coming sooner and sooner. And I said, really, I'm nervous about them going. And one person had mentioned to me, how do you think the mother felt of their 2 and 3 sons, all their boys going over and the husband going over to the unknown? They don't know when they're coming back, if they're coming back. How did those mothers feel? So a little bit of anxiety and anxiousness and excitement for them that I am feeling is nothing compared to what the mums and the wives and the sisters and the daughters had to go through back then.
No, Calvin.
You may not be able to distinguish between them. I think you can see why the fans would believe.
The first cemetery we went to was Vimy-sur-Mer in Normandy, and I had seen pictures of Canadian war cemeteries, but to walk in the cemeteries and to read each individual gravestone and to see how young they were. Some were only 16, 17 years old, younger than me. And they made the ultimate sacrifice. And to read the personal inscriptions from the families, talking about how much they loved them or how much they're going to be missed. And it is so sad. It literally brings tears to your eyes. I mean, I lost count of how many times I cried on this trip. It's very powerful.
Clayton Perry risked all he had in joining the Canadian Forces. Back in Barrie, Ontario, he had a home with a family. He played Canada's sport in the Church Hockey League and was a churchgoer himself. But Clayton Perry heard the nation's battle cry, and in doing so took the ultimate risk.
It's something so much greater than about me. It's not even about me. It's about Clayton Perry, and it's about the sacrifice he made and the things he left behind. And honestly, like all the soldiers that are lying here, it's all about them too. I mean, the things these men went through are something I'll never have to go through. Some things I'll never have to experience, and a lot of the things that I do have, things that not even everyone in our world has, things that make me distinctly Canadian. Just all of the rights and freedoms I have, just the peace that I can just experience day in and day out. That's what today was about, and for me to be a part of that, it leaves me speechless.
But now I see.
We're off the coast of Normandy looking at some of the bunkers that would have been bombarding some of the beaches like Sword and Juno. And one of the British ships called HMS Ajax shot a artillery shell, probably about 18-pounder, and it hit the barrel of this gun, destroyed the bunker, and then over there's the other part of the barrel. It makes me extremely proud to be here, to know that people my age and a little bit older would come here and lay down their lives for people they didn't even know across the country. And it sort of humbles me to be here.
There's D'Ambrosio Drive. It's a pretty street.
Yeah, it is.
It's a nice spot.
My great-uncle, Corporal Dominic D'Ambrosio, he was accepted into the war in 1941. And right before he left, he came to have dinner at a friend's house around here. And after dinner, he said goodbye to his family and friends, and he walked out to the end of this road, which is now called D'Ambrosio Drive. So we walked out onto Yonge Street and waved goodbye, and that was the last time anyone ever saw him, any relative. I'm kind of excited to see what kind of role he played in the war and how important it is to learn history, but I'm also kind of nervous because I don't know what my reaction will be when I see it. 66666. See it? Oh. I don't know what I feel like. It's just weird because I'm honored that he's buried here and that he did so much to help our country. We are actually the second blood relative to actually come and visit this grave. Overwhelmed.
Down into no man's land. They were desperate for somewhere to hide, and the one tree left on the battlefield was standing in about this location, so they were trying to hide behind it.
Well, this is Beaumont Hamel, and it was the site of the Newfoundlanders fighting in the Battle of the Somme during World War I in 1916, July 1st, 1916. And they suffered 86% casualty rates when they went over the top. They were the bravest. They went down in history as some of the bravest soldiers that the British and French troops had ever seen, because even though they were being mowed down by the German machine guns, they kept going and kept going and kept going. And only, I believe it was 68 out of the 780 troops who went over were able to show up for roll call the next morning. So it's a very, very poignant spot, definitely.
Okay, so I want you to take this message away and
It's so overwhelming to be able to see what you're reading about, because when you read it in a book, you don't quite understand. All you're seeing is pictures. And there's a feeling to this place when you come here where it really is hammered home exactly what they went through, especially when you see all the shell holes, you see all the craters. It's not just a picture in a book anymore.
I really liked going there because you don't really want to forget about World War I, even though World War II, I would say, had a bigger impact on society, but World War I was still really important as well, and I'm really glad I got to go to Vimy Ridge, especially because my World War I soldier, his memorial was there, and I didn't actually find his name, but I got to say a few words about him, and just to walk around there, I thought it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, and I was so glad because as soon as we got there, the sun came out and it was all shining and with like the sun, and then as soon as we left, it started to rain. So I thought that was timed perfectly, and I'm so glad that happened.
Vimy Ridge was a battle fought in 1917 by the Canadian Corps, and it was incredibly important in forging a national identity because it was the first time that Canadians fought together as a Canadian unit rather than a British unit. And it was and where we succeeded, where the British and French failed, it was such a matter of pride as Canadians to accomplish such an incredible feat. And we became Canadian from that moment on, rather than just a part of the British Empire. We had an identity.
The fact that we are here right now just fills me with joy. This monument, I'm honored by it. It's an incredible feeling that I have. It's hard to explain.
When we went to Ypres, they have the Menin Gate, where it's just this giant gate with over 10,000 names written on it of the soldiers of the British Empire at the time that were killed in Belgium that have no known grave. And you walk under the gate and you see 10,000 names all around you. You just can't. It's just so overwhelming. And you listen to the last post being played and Amazing Grace on the bagpipes, and people are laying wreaths, and they do this every single night at 8 p.m. every single night since 1928, and they never stop, and it's all to honor our dead and the British Empire's dead. I was crying on the bus ride home because all I could see in my mind were those 10,000 names, and all I could hear was were the trumpets and the bagpipes, and just thinking of all these men who have no known grave. And that's the only marker that they have, is the name on that gate, and it's very overwhelming, very sad.
A lot of the times the documentaries we were watching, I mean, they were on places that we were driving to, or the places that we had just seen. So, you know, sure, some people would be like, you know, sometimes we'd be really tired or something, but I think it is never, I think it's a great thing to have the documentaries playing because, you know, it's why we're there, you know, and I can't get enough of those documentaries, so.
We went to John McCrae's bunker on the 95th anniversary. As soon as we got there, someone told me, oh, did you know it was the 95th anniversary? I said, I actually did not know that. I thought that was perfect timing as well that we were there, and I thought it was really cool how he went actually into his bunker where he did surgery on soldiers, and then the soldiers who didn't make it, then we got to go to their graves, and I thought that was really, really cool. And I really like Flanders Field. I remember learning how to say it in grade 5, and I've never forgotten it. It's always been in my mind for so many years.
In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row. That mark our place, and in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly.
I was actually really glad that I got the chance to do that because I didn't know that it was actually on the itinerary that you're going to have somebody read it. And we learned it in grade 8 in public school, and it's stuck with me ever since because it's one of my favorite poems, one of my favorite war poems. And because I memorized it, I knew that I just really wanted to do it, and I thought it was so powerful having everybody listen to me and really actually being there and reading it. I thought that that was just an amazing opportunity.
Loved and were loved. And now we lie in Flanders Fields.
We're all just human beings, and it's incredibly important that we recognize that, and it's really moving that we were able to recognize that they were men, that they were fathers, they were sons, they were brothers. They were men who died doing what they were forced to do because a lot of them didn't have a choice in the matter. They were forced to go to war by someone of higher rank than them, and yeah, it's just incredibly moving.
That's my father's father. I know he was born in 1900. He fought in World War I for the Germans, and he was in the Budapest ghetto also during World War II in the Holocaust. And I know he survived that, and then he met my grandmother, and they had my father, and then they moved to Canada and started their life there, and he died in the 1970s. He fought for the Germans, and then they basically turned around on him, put him in a ghetto, said he wasn't a person because he was Jewish. A friend and I stepped off the bus just for a second to catch some fresh air, and we noticed in the ground on the sidewalk there were 5 or 6 little gold bricks with people's names on them, and they said Auschwitz and then a date below them. And we were kind of wondering about those, and then an old Dutch lady came out of her house, and she didn't speak any English, so it was hard to communicate, but she had a book there, and we figured out that these names of the people in the ground were Jewish people who had lived in the houses before the Holocaust, and they were deported to Auschwitz and killed. So it was basically like a small memorial for them. We could see by the pictures, we could tell that these were real people who had lived here and had been killed because of their religion, and it was very upsetting, but it was very good to experience that.
Nou, kom jij er ook maar bij, Meike?
There we go.
Hè, mijn kleindochter.
Yes. Come in. Sure. We're sitting over there somewhere.
We're indeed.
Please remember, there's only 3 of us left out of my regiment that I know of. One's in Barrie, one's in Burlington, and myself. Very sad.
Everyone looked up and were like, why is that helicopter there? And then all of a sudden, there was a big barrel of poppies just falling. And like, it's so cool, like it was like actually raining poppies. I thought that was like the coolest thing I've ever experienced. And it was so great to experience that with all the Canadians. And I still have that one. I picked up one special poppy and I still have that. It's in my room. And I thought that was so neat. And I thought that was so cool how the students, the Holland students, they would put flower at every single grave. At first I was thinking they only might have put it at some graves, but they never didn't forget one grave, and I thought that was really special and really, really nice of them to do that.
I love them, I like them, and today is a very special day, and we will always remember all those men and women who gave their lives.
There's so many Canadians buried over here. What would they have done? What would they have done for
It was really emotional just seeing all these graves and knowing that every single one represents a soldier who died here, so it's pretty sad.
Well, the silent march through the streets of Apeldoorn is the Dutch way of remembering their dead in World War II. It's also their way of remembering our dead, but the ceremonies that they had in the days prior to the silent march, they were all about our dead. And this was our way of giving back and participating in a ceremony to honor theirs. And it was the students lined up on the sides of the road, and between the students were veterans and Dutch officials, and you marched through the streets in complete silence. Nobody talking, nobody whispering, nobody laughing, nobody touching one another, and all you had was this lone drummer at the front, and the sounds of the drum were just so haunting. And the silence is respect for the dead.
I thought that it was really powerful, and I thought it would be kind of hard to keep all of us quiet, but it really wasn't. It was incredible, like you could, I don't know, it was just so weird how quiet it was. I thought it was really great how much power there can be in silence, just when everybody focuses and just you're constantly thinking about everything that happened.
Even older, this gun was used by the infantry.
Army rations taste good.
And as far as students and our teenagers are concerned, you should really know why we fought this war against Nazism and fascism.
I was actually really nervous and really scared because I'm always afraid of asking the wrong questions to veterans. I don't want to be disrespectful, but I'm glad I asked some of the questions. And there was one man I was talking to, I asked him how how do you think that the Germans felt about the war? Do you think they felt the same way as you did? And he said, that's a personal question, and I think that they were just brainwashed. And I thought that was really interesting to hear, like, an actual veteran say that.
And at that time, there were only two people in this world that knew we were going to win the war. France was falling. One was Churchill, and the other was me.
When someone said that this is the last chance for this generation to get to meet some of these veterans and get to have an experience like this and go over and see these veterans get honored, that was why I came on the trip. Was, okay, I'm gonna get over there. I gotta be with these veterans and see how they're honored over there. So I think it's the most important thing we need to do. We don't honor, I feel that in Canada we don't honor them enough when you go across. Like the Men in Gate, where every single day they have the same last post ceremony. We don't see that in Canada. I think we should do that more. I think that should be something as a nation we should do, is to honor our veterans more often, and we need to do that going into the future. So even after the veterans are gone, they'll never be forgotten for what they did to keep this country free.
I'm only 89. I got a few more years to go. Yeah. Looking good. I'll be over here in 5 years' time.
We love Canada!
That parade was probably one of the best experiences that, when I was in Europe. I mean, we were just walking down these streets, and these were people that had no idea who I was, but they just saw that maple leaf on my jacket, and they were just like, this guy's Canadian, and they were just smiling at me. And it was the craziest feeling, because these people had so much gratitude, and they, like, their ancestry went through so many things that we as Canadians could never imagine.
Yeah, you're a bit different from when you came back, and I've noticed changes in my friends who are over there as well. We're all more, you know, it's always on our minds now, because we were over there and now we can't get it out of our minds. We're always thinking about it, and I think that trip really makes people think of others more than ourselves. So, and now that whenever I see older people, you know, in the grocery store or walking down the street, I always think I wonder how old they were when World War II.
I definitely think that my attitude towards the other people, and knowing that how much they still keep the memories alive, that it shows us that we have to too. It's kind of our job, it's something we have to do.
And so we have to remember a time when these people just put everything on the line with such bravery, such courage. And the things that they did for us, they fought for our freedom. They fought for Canada, they fought for us, each and every one of us. And you can't show enough respect and gratitude for what they did. You just can't. And once a year isn't enough.
In Canada, I have a Canada flag that I put up on Canada Day, and that's it. And they have these flags sometimes all year round, which is ridiculous, because in Canada we only do it like one day a year. So I think when I get home, I'm definitely going to be hanging a Canadian flag more often.
They served, giving freely of themselves.
Amid the winds of time.
To carry their torch.
And never forget.
We will remember them. We will remember them.